I just got back from Seattle and there are some things I wish I had known ahead of time. So I'm gonna share a couple cultural things that definitely would have saved me some money and would have been nice to know. I'm gonna share a couple quick food recommendations. Gonna tell you which area of town you might want to base yourself in depending what you're looking for on your trip. And gonna tell you what places are worth visiting, what's not worth visiting, where you can get the best view in the city, which might surprise some people. And of course, my biggest mistake, because I made plenty on this trip, so hopefully you can learn from me. First thing to note culturally, this place, Lyft and Uber, is outrageously expensive. Do not plan on using those unless you've just got cash to burn. Good news is there's wonderful public transportation in Seattle. Now, if you're not a public transit person, I totally get it. You can walk a lot of this city. It'll make more sense once I break down some of the areas, but the bus is really simple to use. I found it to be a great way to get around the city, and it felt plenty safe and super affordable, so keep that in mind. Another strange thing that I didn't anticipate was there are lots of hills in Seattle, so if you are somebody who likes to do a lot of walking, just be prepared for those hills. But maybe the most important cultural thing to note here is that while yes, the center of the city is the center of the city, it seems like the emphasis is actually on the neighborhoods and parks just outside the city center. That's where the real magic and culture and just the fun vibes of Seattle really seem to come to life. And again, that will make sense in a minute once I break some of those down, but let's talk about a couple food recommendations really quickly. The first is called Tall Grass Bakery, and I had this like ginger coconut scone thing. It was just unlike any other scone that I've ever really had, and I really enjoyed it. They have some really unique stuff in there, so definitely recommend them. If you're wanting something a little bit more mainstream, there's a spot called Seawolf Bakers, and they've got tons of good stuff. Can't go wrong with anything there. Definitely recommend them. But if you're more so looking for a spot where you can have some of that great Seattle coffee, well, just note that you can get great coffee in a lot of places, but Milstead Coffee was a really good vibe. It had great specialty coffee and had wonderful views right under this big bridge. Just really scenic. Really enjoyed my time there. But if you are looking for more of a hole in the wall, there's a spot called Mass Cafe, and you gotta try this breakfast sandwich. It's just insane. One of the best breakfast sandwiches that I've ever had. One of my good friends who lives in Seattle recommended this place to me, so Anand, thanks for that recommendation. You were right on track there. But let's talk about which area of town you might want to stay in depending what you're looking for on your trip. So the first thing that's important to note is that this is downtown Seattle. All around it, we're gonna hit on a lot of these places, but I wanna speak to downtown itself first. The entire time that I spent downtown, I always felt really safe. I felt like it was actually a pretty clean city and definitely wouldn't be deterred from staying there. But in my opinion, Seattle isn't one of those cities itself that is gonna wow you like a New York or Chicago. So I think the real magic, again, is outside of it. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend staying in the heart of downtown. Now, the first spot that a lot of people might recommend is Capitol Hill, and that is closer to being right downtown. Capitol Hill felt pretty young. It did feel a bit grittier than some of the other places that I'm gonna recommend, but the pro here is that it gives you great access to the heart of downtown if that's what you're looking for. Seemed to be a lot of nightlife, good bars, some restaurants, so definitely a lively place, but definitely a bit gritty. Now, the next place that I'd recommend is Fremont, and Fremont is really unique for a couple of reasons. It does give you all right access to the heart of downtown, but it still has that really young, really trendy, really artsy vibe to it. Felt really local, and there seemed to be a lot going on, and a lot of the places coming up later on, spots to visit, will be really close to Fremont. So I would have no issues staying there, but the spot that I stayed and where I'll probably stay again is Ballard. And Ballard is really unique for a couple of reasons. One, you have great access to a couple of beaches, which I'll talk about. You still have okay access to the heart of downtown, but Ballard just felt really safe, really residential, a super cute downtown, and lots going on. And if you want to know specifically where I stayed in this Airbnb. Now, I always want to be transparent with you, and I did receive a discount for getting to stay there. I told the host that I might mention them in this video if I thought the place was going to be suitable for all you guys, and it definitely was. You're talking about a 3-bedroom place, like shuffleboard, fire pit in the back. Everything just felt really luxurious and clean. Like, this is not an IKEA decorated place. No, like, this is actually somebody's home where you get that real charm. This is what Airbnbs are supposed to be, and it's definitely the spot that I'd stay again. And the hosts, Kevin and Kiki, are awesome. Tell them that I say hello if you get the chance. But let's talk about some of those places that are a bit overrated and kind of tourist traps, and some hidden gems and places that are well worth visiting. So I'm gonna start with like the most overrated and move it to the other end, which is like the most hidden gemmy. So we're gonna use that as a scale. The first place is Pike Place Market, and this is a spot that you've all probably heard about. I think it's what a lot of people think of when they think of Seattle, and that was definitely my perception coming in. it was honestly just for tourists. No way is any local going there to buy any of their local goods. Like, this is a tourist trap, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth seeing. Just temper expectations, expect lots of crowds, expect high prices, but it is cool to go and see, so I'm not discouraging that, just have that context. Next place that is like right around the corner from that is the gum wall. And you're probably somebody who is either going to really love this and think like, wow, this is so novel, this is cool, or like, no, this is just disgusting. Absolutely gross. It's not just one wall, it's more of like a whole alley filled with gum, so do with that what you will. Not something that you have to see, but definitely a novelty aspect to it. The other place in that area is the original Starbucks. Lines are super long, tons of people looking to take pictures. The products inside, they're still the same, right? It's still Starbucks, so just ask yourself, would you wait like 30, 40 minutes in line for Starbucks? If the answer is yes and you really want to see it, great, go for it. If not, you could probably skip it. Let's move to the next place, which is also a little bit controversial, but is moving in the right direction, and that's the Fremont Toll Bridge? I don't know what I'm saying. The Fremont Troll Bridge. Basically, there's this big bridge in Fremont, and there's this troll underneath. Now, I think some people are disappointed because they're like, well, what's the point? Okay, there's a troll statue under a bridge. I kind of look at it and say like, yeah, it's novel, but like kind of fun. Like I don't know, I dig it. Where else have you seen a real troll under a bridge? I know the troll's not real, but like it is in spirit. I don't know, I kind of enjoyed seeing it. If you have little ones, they'll probably enjoy it as well. I wouldn't say that it's something that you have to go out of your way for, but if you're already hanging out exploring Fremont, there's no reason not to go and see the troll. Now, all the rest on this list are definite recommends in my list, and these next three are parks. The first one is Gasworks Parks. Now, this is over near Fremont, and it's just kind of a unique park in that, one, it has like all of this old like oil refinery gasworks infrastructure in place, which is just unique. It's got a cool city, you're hugged up against there on the water, it's hilly, just a really unique setting and definitely a local spot. The second spot is Olympic Structure Park, and this one is much more like in the heart of downtown, and it's not big by any means, but it is well done, it is pretty. So if you are exploring that area downtown and you're looking for a park, this one is a great option. Again, wonderful views. But probably the best park out of all of them that I experienced is Golden Gardens Park. And this is both a park and a beach. It's got this wonderful marina. You are well away from any of the tourists. Like, this is out near Ballard. This is that place that Ballard gives you great access to. You can take a little scooter and go ride along it. Just felt like a great local vibe, gorgeous scenery, just felt like you were almost in a different world compared to everything else in Seattle. Probably my top recommendation in terms of parks, well worth your time. But the next place is even more of a hidden gem, and that's the Ballard Locks. If you've never been to a lock or don't know what a lock is, basically it's how ships get through when they're doing all the weird sciencey things with like change in water levels. It's really cool to see in person, but what's really special about it is, again, very few tourists over there, but also you have a lot of sea life, because when they're like trapping the water to make all the science stuff work, you end up having a lot of salmon, and the seals and all kinds of sea life just comes over to hang out, and the seals are really just there for the easy meals. But it's just a beautiful spot where you're out there in nature, you're that local feel, and it's just a great spot to like observe the sea life in a pretty close and just intimate setting that is completely free. So absolutely no reason to miss out on that. It was one of the highlights of our trip. But the place that I think you can get the best view out of anywhere in Seattle, and no, it's not the Space Needle, is T-Mobile Park, and that is the home ballpark of the Seattle Mariners. Tickets were like $10, and if you make sure that you sit on the right field side, like on the first base line up on the top deck, which is like the cheaper seats, you have just this gorgeous view of downtown Seattle, and you have built-in entertainment with a baseball game. So it's a great thing that I think often gets overlooked, and I just didn't see that option on a lot of tourist lists, so I definitely do that. But let's talk about that biggest mistake that I made, and if you made it this far, you might already know, is that I didn't budget enough time and I didn't venture out into all the wonderful nature that Seattle gives you great access to. Just didn't realize how big the city was, and that was a complete mistake on my end. So don't make that same mistake. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I hope this was helpful, and we'll catch you guys next time.